Just Talk Black Show. Disclosure Statement. Disclaimer. The views and opinions shared on the Just Talk Black Show are those of the hosts and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the show, its sponsors, or affiliates. This show is a space for open, honest, and respectful dialogue within the Black community. Some conversations may include sensitive topics, strong language, or personal opinions that are intended to spark thought and encourage positive change. Listener discretion is advised. All guests are responsible for the accuracy of their statements and agree to participate voluntarily. By appearing on the show, guests give permission for their audio, video, and likeness to be recorded and distributed across Just Talk Black's platforms. Let's talk real. Let's talk truth. Let's just talk black.
This is the Just Talk Black Show with DJ Purpose. Every Thursday, 7 p.m. sharp. Every story, every struggle, every win we claim. We speak it loud, but respect on our name. Yeah. Let's talk black, we shine, we grow. Building up the people every Thursday on the Just Talk Black Show. From pain into pride, let the whole world know where I'm filtered, unite. Just Talk Black Show. Celebrate with voices from the block to the boardroom within. Our stories connect us. It's deeper than chat. It's love, it's respect. Just talk black. Just talk black show. Say it loud. Let's talk black. Just talk black show. Rise together. Let's talk black show. Yeah. Let's talk black show. Oh yeah. Just talk black show.
Hello guys and welcome back. Welcome to the Just Talk Black Show. I'm telling you, last week if you missed the show, it was myself actually hosting the show and I was talking about how we can move forward as a black community, and I'm telling you, we had some calls in, we had messages in, and that was a good show. So if you have missed that show, then you can head back to YouTube and it will be on our YouTube page and you can watch that if you missed that. And if you are new to the channel, as I always say, please subscribe to the channel. Why I say subscribe to the channel, it notifies you every time that we are live, and usually every Thursday at 7:30 we are here. We have many different guests on the show, many different guests on the show, and we do many different topics as well. This is for the black community. It helps get black owned businesses out there in the world and stuff. And it, testimonies as well. If you got a testimony and you want to tell your testimony of how you came through things, that you can also do as well. And today we have a special guest, and I'm going to let that guest, you know what, before I actually do that, let me show you guys who we have on next week. So, let me just open that up. And this is the guest that we have on our next show, Victoria. And we're going to be talking about black motherhood and losing yourself, the truth no one tells. That is going to be one very interesting topic. So if you are a mother and, you would like to participate in that, you can phone in. You can have your opinion on the show as well and talk about your motherhood and what you've gone through and, how you refound yourself. So that's one show I'm telling you not to miss, guys. That is definitely one that you do not want to miss. But I'm going to bring on our guest. I'm going to let her introduce herself. I want you just to tell the people who you are and what you do.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for having me on your show, DJ Purpose. So my name is Nikema, and my profession is Cognitive Behavioural Therapy. And I've been doing this since 2013, late 2013. Yeah. And I'm pleased to be here. Looking forward to the show.
So you've been, I can't even pronounce that word. One long word that is, but we'll just call it a CBT for now. You will call it that. But just break it down to people who don't know what that actually is. So tell the people what CBT
Uh,
is.
yeah, in a nutshell, it's working with the way in which we think, feel, and behave, and the physiological symptoms that we get when we're distressed, when we're dealing with trauma, when we're dealing with negative experiences. And what we do is look for negative patterns to learn ways of breaking those patterns, learn ways of managing anxiety, stress, low mood, and other common symptoms that people have that come with that.
So what made you choose the therapy field as your life as work? What made you choose that?
So, okay, so I was, I attended like a networking event with a whole load of different professionals in the community, the Black community specifically, and somebody did a presentation on drama therapy, and I'd never heard of it before, and I was really quite intrigued as to be in that position to help people in that creative way. And that particular uh, the person that presented, and she's a drama therapist, she said, if you're serious, I can link you up with an organization that you can get yourself in there. At the time, I was working in a call center, and I knew that was not what I wanted to do with my life. And I just graduated a undergrad childhood education degree, and I knew that education wasn't what I wanted to do. So that's, in a nutshell, that got me into it.
Okay. So when did you realize healing wasn't just a job for you, but a calling for you? When did you realize?
I know, powerful, powerful question. So I thought to myself, it was actually while I was training, and whilst I was training, I I was advised that your life's gonna change. Your life's gonna change, and the way that you are will change as well. So it's when my values couldn't separate from my work. It was all intermingled and intertwined into it as well. So yeah, so that's when I really knew that this is for me, because it aligned with who I was and what I was.
So when you was growing up, what message did you hear about emotions and mental health? What did you hear about like mental health and emotion when you was growing up?
Hmm. Um, I feel like it was either nothing or the extreme when we see people with schizophrenia or psychosis or like mental health issues that are quite far gone, if you like.
Yeah.
And usually uh, black people in my community, and yeah, we just there was labeled as being mad, or yeah, that was really it. There wasn't no explanation and talk about um what it meant, how someone would get there. There wasn't that, and I think that was a lack of education,
Yeah.
maybe a lack of um knowledge around that area and how to manage ourselves. One moment. Yeah.
So was there a moment in your life when you knew you needed healing too? Because that's interesting. When did we get a part in our life that we think, you know what, I need to be healed too?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I could hear you. So was there a moment in your life where you
Good.
know you needed healing too?
Oh, goodness. Potential. Yeah, when I was training, probably. Even beforehand, I knew that I didn't feel confident within myself
Yep.
about my abilities. But I knew that I had confidence in areas, whether it was communication or certain roles that I did. Also, in certain jobs that I did, I realized that I know I can do things, but it's not clicking in my head. Why is things not clicking in my head? And that would really make me anxious or get me quite low. I remember being at a job, particularly, it was Telewest at the time, and they were training us how to do these systems, and it really got me really. I cried at like what after the training because I was just like, it just won't click, and it's so straightforward. What's going on? But this is before my diagnosis for dyslexia,
Okay.
and it made sense after reflecting because of the way I process information is different. So yeah, that's when I knew like this is really knocking my confidence. Um, but I didn't think to seek support or help or therapy. I just kind of dealt with it, kept going, sort of thing. And then later on, whilst training, we identified. I say we had a supervision group every week,
Yeah.
and we identified that I experienced low self esteem because I was working with a client whilst I was training who had low self esteem,
Yeah.
and I couldn't put my finger on why. She was a lovely girl, but why I felt stuck with her. And then we realized that it's because I experienced low self esteem, and that's the work that I need to do on myself.
That's interesting. So you had low esteem. Why? And a bit of talk about your dyslexia, because I'm dyslexia, and just talked about how confident, how did that knock you and stuff, and how did it make you feel?
Yeah, so it made me feel that I wasn't intelligent and that I had something wrong with me and I couldn't put my finger on it. I wasn't going to really do well academically, negative thoughts about myself, how people will perceive me. Um, why can't I get these simple things or what's considered simple? Whether it was, I remember being in secondary school
Yeah.
and this, you're doing fractions and all these with different numbers and letters. And I thought, what is going on? And then it was explained to me by someone who was quite academic, and when she explained it to me and then it clicked. Then it
Yeah.
clicked, it was insane. And so I reflected back to that once I was advised that I have dyslexia, and it wasn't just dyslexia, they said I had severe dyslexia as well.
Yeah.
I thought back to my education experience and thought, okay, so this is why this clicks now. Yeah.
That's that's interesting. And how did dyslexia, does it affect your job that you're doing now, or do you have to work a different way to do your job? Because people don't
Great
understand.
question.
Yeah, people don't
Go on.
understand when you have dyslexia, when you're doing your job, people don't realize that we have to think a different way to do that job, or we have to come up with a solution of how to do that job where someone else would just go and do it normally in a way, just maybe write down. We might have to triple think what we're writing down and look at it maybe 2, 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could hear you.
Yeah. um, so with my particular job, I have to take notes. With my current role, should I say, because I
Yeah.
don't see it as a job. I have to take notes. I have to remember what clients have said to me previously to make the links and make sure I don't miss any crucial information that will help them on their therapeutic journey. So what I've learned to do is adapt maybe bullet points instead of wordy notes, or have a template so I can make sure that I can have a succinct way of collating the data that I need, that we need for moving through therapy. Those are just some examples. You really and truly, I should have a system or a computer technology that can allow me to speak
Yeah.
and write and the notes right, because that's what I had for university, and that would be so helpful. That would be really helpful. And even if I'm getting sent emails, for it to be have that software that can speak it to me, because auditory is one of the ways that I obtain information. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's absolutely, and people don't realize that we have to think of different ways or use different techniques to do our jobs. Which is very interesting that you said you're dyslexic and you have to do a lot of writing and do bullet points. So that's very interesting. But how do you take care of your own mental health while handling other people's mental health? Because your job as a therapy, how do you manage your own mental health while handling others?
So, first of all, I think when we have a level of understanding, overstanding ourselves, what triggers us, what our physiological symptoms are. So if I feel like my chest is heavy and I can't explain it, I kind of reflect back on what's happening, what I'm about to do, what's coming up. So having that self assessment of my physical body, my emotions, asking myself, what emotions are driving my feelings right now, or thoughts right now, or the other way around? What thoughts are driving how I feel right now? Just
Yeah.
simply just sitting and just saying, how am I feeling right now? You know, how we can ask our friends, how are you doing? Like, generally, I'm checking in with you, like doing that with yourself. And I do that with myself. Um, and when I do so, I try my best to be as balanced as I possibly can. And when you continue with that balanced way of thinking, you're neutral, as opposed to being overly positive about things and minimizing stuff that is negative, or being
Yeah.
quite crucial, critical, and negative about stuff. Does that make sense?
So when you say balance, when you're saying balance, what do you mean? Just clarifying that balance part. So getting that balance, how do you, when you mean the balance, how do you mean it?
Okay, so imagine I've asked myself what's driving me in this particular emotion, like what's driving my emotions. And it could be that I'm anxious about coming on here.
Yeah.
And then I'd ask myself, well, why am I anxious about it? I'm used to doing online work. And maybe it could be a negative thought that pops up to say, well, what if I'm not received well, or I don't look right, or, well, where is the facts in this?
Yeah.
To bring it into balancing out what's going on here. These are kind of negative, not negative, anxious thoughts, usually when we're thinking future. Depressive thoughts usually look like rumination, looking back at the past and dwelling. Does that make sense? So, yeah, so bringing it back to, well, where's the facts in this? Or am I being kind to myself? Or am I taking everything into consideration? Does that make sense?
Definitely, 100%. I get what you're saying with that. Truly understand that. So just moving on a little bit, why is CBT especially helpful for everyday life struggles? Why is CBT especially helpful for everyday life struggles? Why would you say CBT?
There, I want to say, CBT comes from psychotherapy, which is a different type of therapy. It's similar to CBT. Psychotherapy looks at, they call it systemic. So
Yeah.
maybe more on attachments as a child, how we were viewed, how we were treated, and that then maps out how we are as adults. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, and there's counseling, there's bereavement therapy, other types of therapy. Now, with CBT specifically, and I think why it's been pushed so much is because it's practical tools that you can use on a day to day basis. Not saying that the other therapies don't have that, but it really does push for measuring the way we think, measuring the way we feel, measuring, like, it's teaching you to be your own therapist. It's teaching you to be a scientist. It's they call it metacognition, like thinking about how you think, not about the thing that makes you anxious or distress, etc.
Okay. So
So yeah, it can give you insight on how you function and why you function. It can be accessible. Yeah, you can use them in day-to-day real life situations. Yeah.
So CBT is more of a tools. It's tools that you can use on a daily basis or daily throughout your life to help you deal with certain issues that you might have, like stress, or you might have certain emotions that you have that you want to deal with that emotion. It's giving you the tools, is that correct, to actually help you throughout life?
100%. So imagine someone's um, at the gym. So your brain's a muscle, isn't it?
Yeah,
As well as many other things, but it is a muscle. So the more you exercise it in a particular way, the more you're gonna be a particular way or think in a particular way. So if we're used to thinking anxiously about things or depressively or both or stress, like our brain will naturally keep going in that rhythm because that's how we've exercised it. So CBT will put you in a position where you've got these new tools, but the more you use it, the easier it becomes, and then becomes your normal. Does that make sense?
definitely. Yeah. No, I get that. Definitely understand that. Definitely. CBT, it sounds like a lot of people should be doing CBT to help them to deal with daily things that they're going through, through traumas, through
Mm-hmm.
depressions, these sort of stuff. So it sounds like it's something, and I've never heard of CBT, to be honest, until today, so I had to do a lot of research
Sure.
into it. I'm just going to be honest, I've never really heard about it.
Sure.
So, also, so what mentally patterns do you see most often in Black adults as a therapist?
Oh, maybe emotional suppression. So, let's see, how can I word this? We are more likely, now please don't quote me on this, I don't know the statistics, but from what I've worked with over these years, we are more likely to minimize our emotions and just get on with it, maybe hypervigilance as well, quite hyper alert. Was that racism, that experience? Was that like we're hyper um, alert? Or hyper independent as well. Like we have to do it on our own. We have to get through this. We have to do this. We have to keep going. We have, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe harsh as well. Maybe self criticism compared to some other communities that I've worked with. Um, yeah, those are the
So,
things that,
so we've
and
got.
maybe have an over responsibility on themselves. Yeah, go on.
So would you say it's like where we just say we just have to just get on with it, and that's what you've seen with talking to a lot of, say, in the Black community, that we just think, you know what, we just have to get on with this and just deal with it, instead of maybe talking about our emotion of how it's making
Yeah,
us
so
feel and stuff.
yes, so I know that statistically we are more likely to um, uh, let's say black men, for an example, are more likely to experience, like, going from being okay to them being in a mental institution. You know what I mean? Like there's no 0 to 100. There's, what was the in between like? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
When someone's like working with stress, quite stressed out, quite depressed, quite anxious, what interventions do they access? You know what I mean? Or do they just keep going, keep going, keep going until like the pressure cooker blows, sort of thing, so to speak? Does that make
yeah,
sense?
no, definitely makes sense. So how does so how does the
And men in general,
yeah, go on,
sorry,
Nick, go on,
men in
Nick.
general are less likely to talk compared to women. Men like to mull it over, keep it in, and just, yeah, I just need to just leave me with it. Let me just retreat and mull it over, and maybe they never do speak about it. But women are more likely to let it out. We have to let it out. We have to let it out.
Women have to let it out, definitely. And I hear that. I hear that men, sometimes we do bottle it up, we do hold it in because we do feel like we have to be that strong character, it's weak to show our emotions and stuff. So no, I understand definitely what you're saying with that. So how would you say unhealed trauma shows up in our thoughts and our behavior?
Oh, um, finding it difficult to rest. And I don't mean physically rest, but mentally rest. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's one way I think it might come up in behaviors. Maybe people pleasing, potentially. Emotional shutdown and feeling numb and not knowing. You just feel, you just don't, just emotionally shut down. I just shut down because I can't deal with it. It's too overwhelming. Maybe constant being on alert. And then just this overwhelming feeling of just like overwhelming feeling of emotions.
Yeah. So would you say what would you say survival mode looks like in mentally?
Survival mode. Maybe struggling to slow down, not feeling guilty for slowing down and resting. Um, maybe always scanning, always checking for this behavior, that behavior. They said that to me in that way. That just yeah, maybe.
So would you just say like it's just survival mode is just saying that you just have to just get on with it and that's it. Survival mode is nothing else but just to do
Yeah,
what
like
we are doing, sort of thing.
keep going, ignoring any emotional because it might be quite hard to deal with. Don't know how to deal with, where to go, where to start. Maybe not feeling safe to even express and be vulnerable, and just keep going. Yeah,
So when you say express, how
and feeling
can
guilty for resting.
so when you said about
Yeah,
being
go
like
on.
emotion and stuff, how can we be emotion? How do we let our emotions out? What's one of the tools that you would say that we can use today to start letting how we feel our emotions out? Especially if we're going through a problem, how do I let my emotion come out? As a black man, and I might have a partner, and I want to talk to my partner, and I want to just say, this is how I'm feeling.
Hmm.
What's one of the tools, or what's one of the ways that I can start today to allow my emotions and how I feel to be able to maybe express to my partner?
Well, I think first of all, we need to have that knowledge or that understanding that not everybody you can express to. Maybe your partner doesn't have the space to hold your emotions. And that's really important, first of all, I would say. Um, if there isn't nobody that they feel safe and trustworthy to talk to, um, I would then think about therapy. And maybe even specifically requesting someone of the same ethnicity, same background, if they feel that they could be more comfortable in that. Maybe there, I think on your other podcast, some other guy was mentioning about walking therapy. Drama therapy is one, art therapy is another. There's different types of therapy out there. Have a look at what you feel you need, first of all. What is it that you need? And if you don't know what you need, have a look at what's currently out there that's accessible. Um, yeah, and look at ways that people have found helpful to them that you may relate to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but you probably do. At the barber shop, I don't know, that can be a space that's people can vent and talk, maybe, or black men. If it's safe, if they feel that they can do that. But yeah, thinking about what you need is important. Yeah.
Yeah.
One moment. I've got
Okay.
my little one in the background, so I'm gonna
All
I'm gonna
right.
just step into her for 30 seconds.
She wants to be a part of the podcast. So, let me just quickly again show the guys. If you are new to this channel, please do subscribe. We ask you to subscribe, and we do ask you as well. I can see a lot of people in the room. So, what I'm going to ask you all to do is just get those thumbs up. Literally get those thumbs up. And when I say get those thumbs up on YouTube, you've got the thumbs up button. I'm going to ask you guys to get those thumbs up. And the reason why that is that once this show ends, the more thumbs we get up in this room, it will be aired to so much different people out there. It's important that we do get the word out there of the Just Talk Black show, because, it's helping so much people. I mean, we've had so much different guests on the show, which is speaking about their life experience and also businesses that they do. So if you are listening and you may be doing your cooking or you're doing your gym work or whatever you're doing, just take that 1 minute, literally that 1 minute. That's all I'm asking, guys. 1 minute to press that button. Just press that button. So that is very important. And the phone line is open, guys. If you do want to phone in, I am going to now open up the phone line. So the phone line is 0747153933. So that's the phone line. So please, guys, you are now able to phone in and maybe ask a question. If you've got a question that you want to ask, then you can do. So I am gonna literally open up the phone lines, because I want to hear from some of you guys on how do you deal with your emotions, how do you deal with certain things that you are going through life, what are some of the techniques that you're using to help you get through day to day, and have you had maybe a mental breakdown, and how did you get through that? Is therapy working for you guys? Are you going therapy now, and how is it changing your life? So if you're out there, and you would like to call in, please do call in. I feel it's important that you do have your say also. But are we ready to get back? Are you ready, Nick? Should be ready now. So we were just talking about
Yay!
we were just
Yes,
talking
thank
about
you.
how can I say it, so when people are, let's hit on this subject. When people are on a daily basis, they might be telling themselves, like where you said you was going through dyslexia and that you had certain thoughts and certain patterns. How do you untell those stories? What's one of the tools that we can use to untell the stories that we are telling ourselves? So for example, I might tell myself, I'm not a good person. I'm not so how can I untell that story if I'm telling myself I'm not a good person, I'm doing too much things wrong and etc etc. How do I untell that story? What's one of the tools as a CBT you would say to me that I can use to unchange that story?
One of the tools is, I won't give the technical term, but it's literally to put that negative thought on trial. Give yourself the opportunity to be in court with these thoughts, all right? You are the judge. The thought is on trial. And what they do in trial is look at what's the facts, okay? What's opinion, what's facts? And then, like, what emotions come with that negative thought, and rate maybe out of 1 to 10, 10 being the most strongest that you feel this way, and really break it down. What's the facts here? Give me any fact that supports that negative thought. I do that obviously in therapy, and the clients are thinking, and they laugh even, and they're like, I actually haven't got a fact to support that negative thought. It is usually comes from emotion or opinions or experiences, or maybe that bully's told you that, or maybe someone negative in your life has said that to you, and we've carried it in the back of our mind, internalized it, and we think it's actually us, but it isn't. It's what it's been projected onto us potentially. That's just one.
Putting it on cool. Like actually what you're saying, it makes sense to put that on trial and to ask that question why? Or that's a very interesting way to look at it when I think about it. And do we ever ask the question, why are we feeling like that? Or, and that's the question that I think a lot of time that we don't answer that question or put it on trial and say, why are we feeling like this? Where did that thought come from? So that's a technique that I think that what you're saying is very, very good to use. What would you say another technique would be to use to help you untell those stories that you've told yourself?
Another powerful question, I think, would be, where did you learn that? Where did I learn that?
And then once you've learned that, once you've said
Can you
that,
hear me okay?
yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
You can hear me. So when you've said, where did that thought come from? What is the next thing that you would say? So when you know where that come from and that thought, how do I now cancel out that thought?
Okay, let's go back a bit. So when you've learned where you've learned it from, I think that's the powerful part of it. Did you learn it from something someone else said about you? Did you learn it from someone else's ideology? Is it a fact? You know what I mean? Like, you can dissect that learning, like, or that response to the question, where did I learn that? And if you don't know where you learned it, do you have to believe it, or does it resonate with who you want to be, who you are? Like, does that make sense without having a specific example?
Yeah. So to address it, to ask that question of, who did it come from, etc., and then, not to be able to say, then you can say to yourself, well, I don't have to accept it. If you're not sure where it's coming from, then you're saying to not accept it because there's no facts behind it, that why you're feeling. But there must be a route to where that came from. Some people don't know. Some people don't know that it's been through a childhood, through things and going on, and then it's just stuck with them without them even realizing that certain things are stuck with them. So what's the cost of not addressing mental health early? What's some of the costs that if we don't address mental health early?
100%. 100%.
Yeah, there's a slight delay. I think there's a slight delay in it.
Yeah, there is a slight delay, and it's not DJ Purpose, it is my side of things. DJ Purpose, you're always on point. I just want to be clear, this is my side of things, okay? So apologies to the viewers and the listeners. So sorry.
So I'll tell you what, shall we get you to call in? Let's get you to call in. Let's get you to call in. I think that would be better. Do you want to call in a number? Call in on the mobile number. Let's get you called in, and then we can hear you. Yes? You got the number? Let me bring the number up for you, Nick. So this is the number. Call in for me. It's 07471539553. Call that number. Let's get you on the line. Let's do it this way. So once you get in, just call, and then let's change it around a bit so that we can cut that delay out. So while we're waiting for that, let me show you the next week's show. Guys, this is the next week's show. What a topic. I'm telling you, this one's going to be very interesting. Absolutely very, very interesting. This topic is going to be. So please, guys, tune in next week, Thursday at 7:30. Black Motherhood and Losing Yourself. The truth no one tells you. That is going to be a very interesting show. So I think we've got you on the line. Can you hear me?
Yay, I can hear you.
You can hear me. Good, good, good. So let's go back to that question. What's the cost of not addressing mental health early?
Okay. So, okay. So it obviously depends individually. It could be that I said earlier, someone goes from 0 to 100, ends up in institutions that heavily medicated. Not saying that this is, yeah, and I know everybody would rather kind of have that dealt with or manage the symptoms a lot earlier than that stage. You know what I mean? Or yeah, so yeah, sorry, I've kind of gone blank a little bit. So ask me the question again.
So what I was saying to you is, what's the cost of not addressing
Yeah.
mental health? What are some of the things that you've seen when people have gone past that thing of if they only took that time to address it early? Now they've left it maybe a long time, and maybe they're drinking now, and maybe they're
Yeah,
taking drugs now because
this is it.
that thing was not addressed early. So
Exactly
what's
that.
some of the things that you've seen, and what are some of the biggest issues that if it's not addressed early? And you mentioned it. One was it going into probably a mental home or something like that. You said,
Yeah. So it would be breakdown of family relationships and friendships and becoming isolated. You've mentioned the alcoholism, maybe illegal drugs, maybe having unhealthy relationships, have unhealthy connections.
so when you go say unhealthy relationship, what do you mean? What do you mean by that?
So it could be that we've not addressed certain things that we've been through early on in life or parts of our life, that we end up having attachments to the wrong, or not say the wrong, attachments to people that are not good for us. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Whether it's relationships or friendships or even in workplaces. Yeah, so there's many examples of being around someone that's manipulative, but at least they feel wanted and needed. Like yeah, yeah. So those are the ones I was thinking of when I mentioned that.
And then from that, how does stress affect the body as well as the mind? So how does this stress, because obviously you're getting stressed out, you're mentally exhausted, you're going through this thing and it's stressful. So how does stress affect the body as well as the mind? And I know
Okay,
we touched some of them
so
already.
yeah, we've looked at the mind, maybe unhelpful thinking styles. So in the body, I would say sleep disruption, continual sleep disruption, fatigue, chronic pain, digestive problems, immune problems, because the body absorbs what the mind avoids. Um, yeah, so there's other long-term illnesses or short-term illnesses that we get as well, maybe as a result of how our mind, emotions, trauma can sit within the physical body.
Would you say there's any method about therapy that harms the Black community in any way, would you say?
Methods of therapy that harm. Okay, so the therapy in the Western world in general is founded upon Eurocentric ways. Like their clientele were European or white, and it doesn't necessarily, probably more so earlier on, maybe the last 10, 15 years, maybe in the last, even recently, like the when we get trained as therapists, I don't quote me, but I'm guaranteed that the equality and diversity or working with people of ethnicities, that part of the training is not as developed as I think it should be. And that's from my experience and my training, because the dynamics of prejudice, racism, it's not been explored as much as it probably should do. And that's probably because those Black or people of ethnic backgrounds may not be as in the forefront or as pillars for examples of great therapeutic relationships. No, they are included, they are there, but I don't know the level of emphasis on therapists of all backgrounds, how important it is working with people who can experience prejudice and racism, that sort of thing.
Okay. Wow.
Does that make sense?
That definitely does. Let's move on to some action, because it's about action. You know, we're talking about this topic, but let's talk about some action and empowerment of how people can basically use what you're talking today and some of the tools that they can use. And I know we've touched on that again, but let's touch on for some of the listeners who maybe have not come in from the early point. So what's one small mental habit listeners can start today? So what's one small mental habit that listeners can start today? So what's one tool they can start using for mental health to help them if they're going through mental health problems and mental health issues? What's one small thing they can start doing today?
Okay. They can notice their self-talk, how they talk about themselves, how they might jokingly talk about themselves. That is it derogatory? Is it critical? Is it nasty? Is it hateful? And ask whether it sounds like, are you being caring to yourself, or is this punishment? Are you being mean to yourself? Like, how are you? What's your dialogue about yourself to yourself? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how would someone recognize a harmful thought pattern? So how would they recognize that this is a pattern now?
So it could be like when you make a mistake or you drop something or you do, and you kind of say that you're an idiot or you're this or you're that, like, oh, all these negative, like stupid, maybe, I'm dumb. Those are the sorts of words that we need to really change and eject, I would say, and flip it to be more balanced. It doesn't have to be positive, because sometimes when we're going through stuff, it's very difficult to push for positivity, and that's not always the answer. So what would balanced thoughts look like? What would balanced thinking look like? It could be that even though I feel rubbish about myself today, it doesn't mean that is a fact that I am rubbish. It means that I'm feeling this way and I've acknowledged it. And what can I do to neutralize this feeling? Or maybe I need to just sit in these emotions, because sometimes battling against these negative thoughts can be so draining. And then you feel like you've not accomplished, or you feel defeated, or you feel worse than you did when you started because you've not achieved balance or you've not achieved positivity. Getting out your head, maybe write stuff down, can help as well. Getting all these negative thoughts out of going through your mind and putting them on paper, and then maybe getting rid of that paper safely, however way you want to do that. If you don't feel safe to write things down and leave them around.
Okay. So what's role does self-talking play in healing? When you self-talk, play.
What role does it play in healing? So if you're on your healing journey, or when someone's on their healing journey, self-talk is the relationship you have with yourself. You know that saying, know thyself? The more you know and work with the self-talk that's balanced or positive, it really can shape your internal relationship and have it more healthier, more balanced. So yeah.
And what advice would you give to someone who's afraid of starting therapy? So for Black men, we were like, nah, we're not going therapy, or we're not going to see somebody and talk to somebody about our problems. We can deal with it. So what advice would you give to someone who's afraid to start therapy?
Therapy is not just for when we're feeling terrible and bad. It can be when we're feeling okay. It can be like a checkup. We go to the GP and just get like, let me just check my blood. Let me just check this. Let me just check that. Just see how it is.
Yeah.
It's okay to just do that. You go to the dentist, check your teeth, and you just what's good, what's bad, and what's fine. And yeah, therapy can be just a gauge to see where you're at that particular time.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I would say. Maybe, like I said before, encourage someone or whatever service you access to have someone that looks like you if you feel that will help you in engaging in therapy. Maybe look at alternative therapies that are out there instead of just talking therapies. There's other therapies as well.
Okay. And what signs tell someone if it's time to seek that help?
Maybe when it's interesting because when do you know you're ready for help? Because there's sometimes you know that person might benefit from talking therapies or certain types of therapies, but are they ready to access that service? So it's a quite an individual thing. That is, when someone is ready, I would say, is when they are willing to be vulnerable, open up about things that they've probably never talked to anyone before, or talk about things that they've talked about and they're ready to process, work through, and heal from. And it's not going to be easy. I tend to tell this to all the people I work with, that they're going to feel worse before they feel better, because they're focusing on things that are traumatizing to them, that make them feel anxious or low, and they're going to feel worse before they feel better. And it's like a wound that we have on our bodies. It kind of hurts when it's healing, doesn't it? So, yeah.
So how would you say also, what about boundaries? Because we haven't touched on boundaries. How do boundaries protect mental health? Would you say?
Having healthy boundaries can be a form of self-care. It can prevent resentment to other people or self. It can create a way of sustaining like a healthy internal well-being and outlook on your life in general. That's what I would say about protecting, about having boundaries protected.
So boundaries could be in just normal life, and it can also be in relationships as well. So having that boundaries of certain things that can protect you as a person as well, would you say?
Yeah, 100%. And it's not always easy to do it with loved ones, because they might have had histories of ways of being for years. And when we change these ways of being, it can, when we change, family members, loved ones, they sometimes really don't like the person that we're moving into, and there's resistance there. And you might see that in the way that they act towards you and talk to you, and see that you're changing, and kind of want to I don't know, get you back to the old person that you were, or the person that you're moving from. That's just a process. Just be aware of that, and knowing that you can be whoever you want to be, however you want to be. And if someone's not going to just accept you how you are, or where you're moving to, then maybe having a healthy boundary, whatever that might look like, having space from them, or communicating in a way that's respectful, but also respecting you. Yeah.
Wow, that's actually a lot to take in that you just said, which is good, because when we do start changing and people do want to get us back to that same, like how we was before, setting that boundaries of like, nah, I'm a different person. I'm not like that no more. And sometimes you have to set that boundaries of maybe not phoning that person so much, because
maybe that, yeah,
they're not talking the conversation or helping you to move forward in life.
exactly.
You know, and that could be a friend.
That could be a friend, it could be a loved one, a close family member, and it's not easy, but it's all about how do you want to live your life? How do you want to show up for yourself? Um, and as long as, like I said, you're not being disrespectful, you're not hurting anybody, then yeah, do what you need to do to feel and create the reality that you want.
Mm.
And then,
So would you say CBT is good for, let's talk about relationships. Would you say it's good for relationships as well, for couples to literally to do CBT? Because within the Black community, we suffer, to me personally, and this is only my opinion, that, you know, emotion for Black men to express their emotion to maybe their partners, you know, we struggle with that side. So would you say CBT is something that couples can do together as well?
I don't think there's specific CBT for couples. I could be wrong though. It could be. But it's more psychotherapy and counseling for couples counseling specifically.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what I would say. Now you could use CBT tools to help together in a relationship, of course, but for just to help a relationship, I don't think there's anything out there at the moment, but I could be wrong.
Okay, so some of the tools that you're saying to use to express your emotion, to question that emotion,
Mm,
because to go into a healthy relationship, both minds of both people has to be in that safe place that you can express
mhm,
yourself. You can tell each other about how you're feeling. So you can
100%.
use some of the tools that you're saying. Okay, which is good. So we're coming near the end of the show. Is there anything that you would like to say to the audience? You know, it's been absolutely wonderful, and I'm definitely have to get you on for part 2, because
Yeah.
there's so much more to go into on this topic, especially when it comes down to emotion, of how do we express our emotion, how do we deal with traumas, you know, and address those sort of issues. So this is your time right now to literally say anything that you want to say to the audience. This is your time. This is your open space.
Gosh, putting me on the
I'm
spot.
putting you
Okay.
on the spot.
Let me see. Okay, so I would like people to have healthy relationships with themselves, first and foremost. And that might look like doing some research, learning about ourselves all over again, maybe, depending on where we're at, and feeling safe within self, whether that's therapy, whether that's working on routine, having structure in your life. And it's just take minimal steps can help you on the way to kind of the larger goals that we might have. Be as kind to yourself as possible, but not complacent. Um, there has to be a healthy level of balance. Like call yourself on the rubbish or the crap, excuse my French, that we've done or we're doing, or unhealthy behaviors we're doing, but not in a way that's going to break us down. Acknowledging and look for healthier patterns, healthier behaviors, healthier self talk, and the way we communicate with others as well. And I guarantee one will feel the difference and see the difference in their environment, and people respond to us different. We kind of set the frequency, if you like, of how we are and how people are towards us sometimes in life.
So that self-care of taking care of yourself, powerful, absolutely powerful. You know, your last words were powerful. Self-care and taking those steps, as you said, those small steps to looking after ourselves, which is very powerful.
Yeah, thank
Definitely.
you.
Well, as we come to the end of the show, that is it. But before I let you go, I'm going to ask you the most famous question. I know I've asked you this question before. I know you've been on the show before, but I'm going to ask you again. So if you could host a table with any Black person, living or past, who would you invite and why?
There is a author named Audre Lorde. and the kind of silent
Sorry, say that again because it cut it out. So say that again, start again.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right. So there's an author named Audre Lorde, because she understood that silence can harm us and self-care can be like an act of resilience, and maybe sustainability for us to be as balanced as we can considering what we've been through. Yeah.
Love that. So say that author again. Let me get that author again. I might have to research this. Who's this author?
Audre Lorde.
Audre Lorde. Okay. And what's one of the quotes that she said from that?
A quote?
Or what did she say? She said, "Silence do what?" Just repeat that again. I want to hear that because that is powerful.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2. All right. So she understood that silence harms. If we're silent about things, it can harm us. And self-care can be an act of resistance, an act of sustainability for us being, quite healthy in our side.
Absolutely love that. And you know what? That is, as we come to the end of the show, I'm telling you, lovely to have you on the show as always when we get you on the Just Talk Black show. It is such a blessing to have you on the Just Talk Black show. As I said, I'm going to have to definitely bring you back for part 2 because there's so much more that we can go into, but as we come to the closure of the show. So I will be definitely in touch with you to definitely talk about that. So, thank you for coming on to the Just Talk Black show today. Really do appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, and I look forward to it. Yeah.
No problem. Do you want to can people find you on any social media or anything?
Yeah. So my Instagram is at Tailored Therapy, TAYLORD Therapy. So that's my socials for now. I've actually got a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah.
So people, Tailored Therapy, Nikema Tailored Therapy on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah, please do check me out.
Can you put that in the chat for us? There's a chat there. Can you put us on the YouTube chat right now? Can you put that in the chat for us?
I think let me reconnect because you did.
All right. We'll say goodbye for you to now, and then just quickly before I end the show, just quickly put it in the chat so people can find you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for coming on Just Talk Black show. Thank you. And that is it, guys. Just quickly, just like to let you guys just know about the new company out there that I have recently launched. It's called the Black Men's Brotherhood. Let me see if I can bring that up. Now, this is the new company, Black Men's Brotherhood, and it's a WhatsApp group. At the moment, it's just a WhatsApp group. And what this does is it gives a safe space for Black men just to talk, just to connect with other Black men out there. And it's about brotherhood. There will be further down the line where we do breakfast, and we are starting this month, the last Sunday of every month, we do an online meetup where guys get to talk about certain things they're going through, or maybe tasks that they want to complete for the month. Many different things that we will be doing, and also we will be doing workshops further down in the year. But also we have speakers that will be speaking on certain days as well. So if you do know a Black King out there who would benefit from being in the WhatsApp group, please do send them the link. So it's NAS.IOO/Black Men's Brotherhood. Take a quick picture of this and just send it out to any Black King out there and just say, look, there's a Black Men's WhatsApp group that you can join. So as well, people, please do get those likes up. And if you are new to the channel as well, please do subscribe to the channel as well. But that is literally it, guys. Let me just bring up my social media as well so you can find me on social media as well. So this is our social media platforms that we are on. We're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, Facebook. And if you would like to get onto the show as well, that is the phone number that you would call to literally get on to this show. So it's 07471 539 533. So that's the number, guys. If you like to be interviewed by myself, you can basically just ring that number. And it's a simple process. All I do is just ask you a few little questions about what you do and why you would want to be on a Just Talk Black show. Then I will send you out a form. Once you fill in that form, it's literally a 5 to 10 minute test. We test your webcam and your internet to make sure, you know, you've got stable internet plus your webcam is working okay, whether that's off a laptop, mobile phone or iPad, whatever you're using. And then that's it. We book you in for a date, and that's it, guys. You will be coming on to the Just Talk Black show. So I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who's been watching today and all the people who's been participating in the chat. It is a blessing that every time you guys are on and supporting me, really do appreciate it. But that's it, guys. That is the end of the show. Have a great evening. Have a great day, and blessed.
I've been running from my thoughts like they chasing me. Every memory loud, trying to bring my peace. Old stories playing like they facts to me. But I'm learning now, I don't gotta believe in a thing. Mirror talking back, say who you gonna be. Past pain knocking, but I don't give it keys. I replace the lies with the truth I need. One thought at a time, setting me free. I pause, I breathe, I question what my mind tells me. I choose clarity, I'm more than my anxiety. I can change my mind, I can change my life. I don't have to live in fear every night. I'm breaking the patterns, healing inside. I see my thoughts, but they don't decide. I'm strong, I'm grounded, I'm learning to cope. Rewriting the story, building my hope. I'm doing the work, yeah, I'm taking control. Mind, body, spirit, I'm finally whole. Feeling I don't let it run me. Sadness can visit but it can't own me. I check the evidence, what's really true. Just because I feel it don't mean it's proof. Triggers used to pull me back in time. Now I catch the thought before it crosses the line. New habits, new paths, new way to respond. I'm training my mind, yeah, the healing goes on. Breathe. You are not broken, you are learning. You are allowed to change. I can change my mind, I can change my life. I don't have to live in survival mode tonight. I'm breaking the patterns, healing inside. I see my thoughts, but they don't decide. I'm strong, I'm grounded, I'm choosing my growth. One step, one thought, one truth at a time. I'm closer, I'm closer. Just Talk Black show. Where real conversations help real people grow.